Hey everyone, my name's Andrew Schmitz. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Proceed, which is a tech startup based out of Appleton, Wisconsin. We help small businesses make turnover suck less. We're doing that through knowledge sharing and technology that lowers the barrier to entry so that small businesses can start using a digital ecosystem to share their knowledge and hold on to their knowledge. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Excellent. And I've got to tell you, from the moment I heard you do anything resembling a presentation, the fact that you're just upfront saying, listen, turnover, it's a thing. It sucks. We want it to suck less. I love that candor.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it turns out, a lot of people focus on retention, and we think retention is really awesome, right? Like anything you can do to make your retention better, you should be doing. But you're always going to have turnover, and I think if you can make it suck less, why wouldn't you, right?
Right, right. And so let's get into the details of how that works, because as you've presented it, I think that it has a place even at a company with zero turnover whatsoever.
For
Just the
sure.
fact that you're promoting knowledge sharing. So talk a little bit more about that, if you're willing.
Yeah, so a lot of people, depending on what line of work you're in, a lot of people will compare us to several different things. Basically, we're a replacement to binders. A lot of businesses use binders to share information and train their employees. We're a replacement to a wiki. We're a better wiki, and that was probably the big thing when I was in Madison talking at 1 Million Cups. A lot of people compared it to a wiki, which is very true. We like to say, break up with your wiki. We're better for you. So yeah, we do this through technology that really also focuses on capturing the visuals that your business depends on. Turns out, 60% of us are visual learners, yet, and a lot of times with training, we don't use visuals. And I think it's mainly because it just sucks to. It's a clunky process. If you're going to build you could spend significantly more time building a video training product or training, sequence for your employees. So we're trying to just make it easier to do that. It doesn't require a production, company, to come in and shoot video for you. You can make really awesome video training, photo-based training, and just capturing your knowledge with visuals just really helps you out in the long term, and makes onboarding and training so much faster too. I think people just overall learn quicker with visuals, and that's proven as well. There's a lot of research that points that.
Well, and I think depending on the subject matter involved, in a lot of cases, a video is going to be so much quicker for the learner. I'm thinking of like the classic grade school exercise of write down instructions for someone to tie their shoes. Like, that's 3 pages of instructions to get someone to tie their shoes. Or watch a 4-second video,
Yeah,
right? It's like, which one do you
but then
want?
even closer, something that we really pay attention to is trying to make sure that um, you know I don't know if you've ever done this, but a do-it-yourself thing on YouTube, right? And you're watching this video on your phone because you're in your car trying to fix something on it, right?
Or my furnace. I'll just throw that.
Or the furnace, yeah. And then like you miss a step, so then you have to try to scrub back and wait, what was that again? And then it just it's kind of painful, right? So even the formats that we're looking at and the type of the formats that we're putting into our workflow process for people to develop workflows on the knowledge that they have. It's breaking things up. It forces you almost to break things up into these steps so that when you're training someone, it repeats the step until they're ready to move on to the next step. And you can do it a variety of different ways, but it's even we're trying to make video training better than the traditional throw up a video on your website for your employees to watch, and or your private YouTube channel. And it can help a little bit, but it could be even better if you broke it up into chapters and steps. So yeah, we just try to really pay attention to, and we always try to learn, like, not only how do people want, like what is the incoming workforce saying, and how do they learn best, but and trying to align to their preferences. But also, and one of our biggest focuses is lowering the barrier to entry. We want everyone, regardless of their comfort level with technology, to be able to contribute to the knowledge base of the business. Because it turns out, I mean, like, there's a lot of people, especially in small businesses, that have been there forever, maybe aren't as comfortable with technology, but know the business better than anyone.
Sure.
They're the ones, if you can empower them to document their knowledge with technology and contribute to a digital ecosystem, you're going to be much more competitive as a business, and you're going to be able to train people for many generations to come.
Right. So reducing that friction,
Yeah,
for me to do the recording, for me as a user later on to be able to access the recording, all those sorts of things. There's clear benefit there. So tell me how you got started down this path. How did you go about identifying this problem and saying, you know what, gonna write some software, gonna start a company, solve this thing right here?
definitely. So I started as a consultant. I would work with small business owners as a side hustle. I was working full time as a senior project manager for a software company up here in Appleton. But I was doing this as a consulting kind of gig. I would go in, talk with small and sometimes medium-sized business owners, and they would, say, "I want a training website," or "I want a training video. This is what I want." So I would go in, learn what it is they want me to document. We would figure out some deliverables, and I'd deliver it to them. But I learned very quickly that the problem with that process is that couple problems. First of all, it's expensive. Like, a lot of these small business owners just couldn't afford me. They needed this stuff, but they couldn't afford the price that I needed to, come
Totally.
in and do that
Yep.
as a consultant. And so that was actually kind of sad sometimes. I would be talking with a small business owner and really see the need and really want to help them, but just couldn't make sense of it.
Yep.
So there was that, and then also there's just skepticism around bringing in a consultant sometimes, and especially for stuff like that, where it's like, I'm going to come in for 1 week or 1 day and document this, very critical part of your business, as a consultant who's never stepped foot in the door before, right?
Right.
So there's some
Got to establish
skepticism.
credibility and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, yeah. So I realized that, okay, so if consultants aren't the best people to come in and do this, who are? And it's the stakeholders in the business. They're the best people to do this, but why aren't they? And it's because they aren't comfortable with technology. A lot of times for small businesses, it's because it's clunky and, like, they just can't make sense of spending 2 days to document a process, because then they're 2 days behind. So that's where I started. I actually built a prototype, and I started prototyping with technology that already exists. I made some connections, and I'm like, well, this kind of does what I want. And if I, what if I just try this with someone? So I'll actually tell you, Keith, my prototype was Snapchat. I used Snapchat. I leveraged Snapchat
All right.
to start testing this concept of, well, Snapchat's great at showing your friends what you're up to. And it's also great at showing people sometimes, like, some really detailed information. You can draw on there and put in captions and all this great, cool stuff that it's like, wow, I made this step-by-step workflow to show someone how to do something in a matter of minutes, where it would have taken me hours if I would have brought it into Word or PowerPoint and marked up everything and transferred all these photos everywhere. And then it's like, where does it live? All this stuff. So anyways, I built a prototype that was more sophisticated than Snapchat, but I started out testing with Snapchat and like Instagram stories and whatnot. And then from there, we built a little more sophisticated of a prototype. In March of 2019, I quit my job, so a couple of months ago, as a full-time senior project manager, and I transitioned to my side hustle full-time, and then I started looking for a team. I found a team in May of 2019, and that's when we launched Proceed. So I'm a big believer of, especially as a non-technical founder of a tech company, you need to test your assumptions and your product before you put anything into development. And that's a huge core belief of mine. And it only comes from the mistakes that I've made in the past. But so that was a huge part of proceed was testing these assumptions out early, doing everything that I could as a non-technical founder to test the assumptions and then find a team, and then turn it into something bigger than it is.
Okay, so two things coming out of that I think I want to hear you dive into a little bit. Okay, so size of the team now today is you and how many others?
2 people. So I have 2 technical co-founders.
Okay, and the research that you speak of, proving out your hypothesis, right? Tell me more about who do you go to, how many, how has that gone?
Yeah, so it was awesome because as a consultant, I had all these clients already.
Right.
That I was working with, right? So a lot of my research was actually just done with small businesses around here that I built up partnerships with. And we're talking about entertainment venues, we're talking about uh, certain medical offices that I was helping out, like a variety of different industries and businesses. But I had these clients in my Rolodex already that I could just call up and be like, well, hey, I have this new thing. Can I come in and just try it with you? And everyone, for the most part, was really open to that. I mean, it's awesome when you build a relationship with someone, it's easy to come in and kind of test things out. So I probably tested like the earliest prototype of Proceed with 10 of my clients. I think I had to think about that the other day presentation. So I think it was 10, and I really should go back and really find that number, but it was about 10. And that was over like 2 years ago. So it wasn't a quick process. So, I started testing this about 2, maybe a year and a half ago with these clients.
Okay, and that presumably helped you move from Snapchat land to something a little bit more refined, a little bit more on point for the solution you want to deliver.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this gets into we've got a refined product. We have a team. At some point in time, we have to discuss how does this make money, right? Otherwise, it's called a hobby. So, so tell me what that model looks like for you.
Yeah, so we currently are on like a bootstrapping track. We aren't against investors, and we hope to someday get to a point where it's like, well, either we work with an investor or we don't seize this opportunity. But right now we're self-funded, and things are going really well with that. We are really focused on developing key relationships with you call them associations or alliances, who can kind of do a one-to-many relationship for us. They have members. If it works with one member, they want all members to see our product and see that it solves a solution that all of their members are facing. And right now, it's kind of like the right. We feel like we're in the right time at the right place. There's a lot of companies that are worried about this exiting workforce and losing a ton of knowledge with that exiting workforce. So we're working with these alliances and these associations and trying to build up these relationships because they're trying to figure it out for their members, and come up with a solution which then can apply to everyone. So that's a big part of our growth strategy, is just building up better relationships. We've had a few early adopters who have also said, like, this has changed, like the day-to-day operations of our business are so much more smooth. Nice. And as soon as you guys are ready to roll out to more people, I'm going to tell our entire network about it. It's amazing. Like, even I worked a lot with a certain type of, I won't get into the specific details because I don't want to give away people's information without getting their permission, but a certain type of entertainment business. And it's amazing that, like, these businesses are all connected through Facebook. Like, they all sit in this group and they sit there and pass ideas along, and they share strategies and different tools that they're using. And I've already seen through other ventures the power of being referred through a Facebook group similar to those. So we're really, I think every business says this. We're focused on building good relationships with our early adopters and hopefully to get into their circles, to be able to spread the word. But the great thing about being self-funded is slow, steady growth is a-okay, and we can do that. A big part of that as well is we really want to only, I mean, not only, but we want to focus on the small businesses. We're here for the small businesses. A lot of our competitors are going after the 100 grand contracts with
Right.
huge manufacturing companies and different organizations, and I look into their company a little bit and I see that they're venture backed, and it's like, okay, I see
Right.
why you're
And
probably
that's why.
going after
Yeah.
those. And so, again, we're not against funding or talking with investors, but we're self-funded right now, and things are looking really good. And it's actually, I think, a part of our growth strategy is, at least initially, being self-funded.
Great. Congratulations to anybody that can bootstrap a company in this day and age. And I think uh, many people would say, boy, if I could go back in time, if there was a way for me to start my company without having to take VC money, boy, that would have been a great thing.
Yeah.
So good on you. Well, so
Thank-
let me ask this then: how, and we haven't touched on your pricing strategy or your model in that regard, but give me an example of when you look at the business model of the company. How do we bring in revenue? How do we balance that against expenses and development and outreach and all these things? What's a problem you've encountered, and how are you solving it?
So, in terms of, yeah, like our business model, the problem, from a marketing standpoint, and I should be honest with everyone, we're pre-revenue. So we're working with alpha users right now, and we have a list of beta users rolling out soon, that a lot of them are expecting to pay. So we're really excited about that, because then we can drill further into these. We have some discovery that we have to do with in terms of our pricing and our model that way. But probably the biggest challenge, and this kind of ties to like what you're about, Keith, with people, is like small business owners. When I talk to them, a lot of times one of the first things they throw back at me when I say, like, we can help you crowdsource your knowledge from your employees, like we make it really easy, and they can help you develop your knowledge base, and they they say, well, you know why would my employees ever document their knowledge? um, like they don't feel comfortable documenting their knowledge. It's like their job security, right?
Right.
And
It's
then
how
they
I've
say,
kept employed at the doorknob company this long, is because I'm the only one that knows how to make. Yeah.
yeah. um, but otherwise I say, my employees, they're not motivated to document. Why would they, nothing's telling them that it's important to document, or whatever. They don't feel comfortable and they aren't motivated. So that's been probably one of our biggest flags in the sales process, or at least in the process of trying to find companies to give us a shot. And I really think a lot on this, because it's like, well, we have to kind of check some boxes for people in some way, or provide them with resources, and it's like a culture thing, right? It's culture from the top down. And I frequently say to people, like, there's no app, at least that I've seen, that's going to help you with that. Like um, Proceed is, kind of like, you have to have that culture already in order to really get good use out of Proceed. And we're doing some things in Proceed, like gamification, and trying to motivate, the analytics inside of Proceed that you can look at to help, motivate your employees to start documenting, and you can have incentives and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's a culture thing, and something that I think a lot on, and trying to, talk more about, because it's simple things, like the difference between, if you as a business owner, think of your employees not as employees but stakeholders.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge mind shift right there, that and then of course it's not just calling them stakeholders or calling them associates instead of employees, or team members or instead of employees, or whatever it is, but treating them that way is a really important culture thing, that is one of the challenges that we have in Proceed's model, because it really does, the real benefit from Proceed, and not, you can use it to build your own training documents easier to then pass on to your employees, but we really think that the real benefit for small businesses is when you can get your employees to document stuff. So, you know, the other thing that I think a lot on, and I'm curious about your view on this, is, um, you know, legacy is something I think about a lot, right? And when I quit my job, something I thought about is, what are these people going to say about me when
Wow.
I'm no longer here every day?
Yep.
And a big part of that is, I think, like, did Andrew set us up for success when he left? You know, or is he taking stuff with him to be, you know, like, and will they make assumptions like that, like, if I don't document something, are they going to assume that I purposely didn't document it to, you know, whatever?
Yeah.
And it was never like that at work. You know, like, I loved my team at my last job, and I loved what I was doing. And I don't think they feel that way about me at all, but it is something I think people think about.
Sure.
It's, you know, your legacy is what people say about you when you're gone, when you've
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
And so as an employer, knowing that, like, their legacy should be important to them as an employee, but also their legacy is important to the business, I think is something that, at least from what I've seen after talking with a lot of small business owners about Proceed, uh, you know, it's something that they should think more about, I think.
Yeah.
And how to get that into your culture, I think could really benefit a lot of small businesses and
Your
big
point
business.
about culture is huge, and that is I think one of the things that anyone in a position of kind of sales, as you're thinking it, has to come up against. You know that you and your product could be a great benefit to 10 different companies that you talk to, but you know there's an uphill struggle to educate. If it's not part of their culture, have they really thought about the importance of these sorts of things? So really, it may come down to only 2 or 3 of those 10. You know, you can help all of them, but only 2 or 3 maybe are really in a place where they're prepared to recognize the value you're bringing.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
challenge.
So,
I get it.
and you're right. It's a sales challenge just in general. It's not just us. It's, you know, anytime you're trying to implement new software, especially software that's for the long run. It's not like a one-time use thing or a problem that you need to get through today, but not tomorrow. It's, yeah, I guess it's every software, it's every company, every product that you're trying to sell. It's how does this fit into the culture? And, you know, I always think, like, they won't continue to buy it from us. Our churn rate will be terrible if no one uses it, right? And so you have to have the right culture in place in order to really be successful. Or you have to sell into the right culture to really
Yeah.
be successful as a software company and a software product.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
I think that's probably our, like, most routine challenge that we have right now in our
Yeah.
business model is trying to, I hate saying change small businesses, because, like, you know, there are a lot of small businesses out there that have all these things, you know, and they're doing things really well. Actually, one of my business mentors, he talks about how it was a huge part of, if he was going to promote someone in his business, the fact that their willingness to pass along knowledge and responsibility to people, or what we know as delegation, right, was super important. You know, it's paramount.
Right.
And he said, you know, he talked about once, and this is kind of extreme, but he talked about once where had an employee that was hoarding all this, you know, responsibility and, you know, knowledge to herself, and he said, either you share it or you're gone.
Wow.
You know, like, I can't have you holding on to all this stuff. I need you to share it with other people, so then I can promote you and free you up to do other things as well.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting when you think about it that way. I was happy to have that conversation with him, because I hadn't, you know, I hadn't thought about it that way, I guess.
Clearly, that's an ideal client, right?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
person who gets it. It's
yeah, exactly.
less of an uphill struggle for you to educate in that scenario.
Precisely, yeah.
Let me do this in the interest of salvaging the remainder of your morning here. There's a question I always want to find out about. You know, that my personal bent, the first topic you and I spoke about at length when we first met months and months ago, people stuff. And admittedly, you've got a small team. It's 3 founders at this point, and you're bootstrapping, so it's not like we got to hire 10 people by this time tomorrow. I mean, it's not that sort of scenario, but you're still dealing with people, and we're complicated. So give me an example of, even for a small team of 3 co-founders, what's a people challenge you're dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, Keith, I think the reason why we've stayed in touch is because of people issues that I'm having, right? Or people issues that Proceed had. So Proceed, you're right. We're an early startup. We've always been a team of 3. And the most significant challenge that Proceed as a company has faced has been regarding the team. So the original team that we started with in May of this year is no longer with us. So we had a 66% turnover rate so far this year.
Well, okay, but you only lost 2 people, so let's spin it in a better way.
Yeah, I'll just back this up and say, like, they left on their own terms, and they it was very amicable, and we all realized as a team that this just wasn't the team to take Proceed to the next level. And so they, as I said, they left very amicably, and I learned a lot from the whole experience. And I was fortunate enough to kind of get some signs going up to it through conversations that, like, we probably need to find a new team to take over. So I actually reached out to you, and you've been super helpful with this whole process. But I'm super happy to say that, like, 2 months ago, we brought in two different co-founders or technical founders, partners who are just rock stars, and it really, like, everything that I've learned, like, partnerships are like a marriage, right? And some people might say even worse than a marriage, but it's true, right? It's you're basically getting married to them for an extended period of time, and you're going to have conflict, you're going to have great times, and you need to make sure that you all jive through it all, right? Yeah. And part of this is also, like, you should make sure there's a dating period. You should get to know them. You don't just jump right into it. Like, you'd never do that with someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with in a marriage. So you make sure you have this dating period. And then the biggest thing is something I learned from a guy named Cameron Harold. I don't know if you've heard of him before, but he's got this concept called vivid vision. And it's something when I heard about it is when I was going through this kind of, like, people stuff, and I'm like, this is so true. Our vivid visions aren't aligned. And in order for the team to be successful and everyone to jive, everyone's vivid vision needs to be aligned. And it's not just the vivid vision for the company, but, like, if your personal vivid vision doesn't jive with the company's vivid vision, there's going to be conflict there, right? Like, if you're starting a company and you don't expect the company to change your life, it's not going to work out. Like, I mean, you have to like, so when Proceed hits this milestone, what does my life look like? And when Proceed hits this milestone, what does my life look like now? And, and so on, so on. And if you're not, if your visions don't align with these company milestones, it just won't work out. And so those are the lessons I learned. And after reaching out, to the network and reaching out to you and talking with you about these people thing, these people challenges, and I realized, like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to restructure the company, for me to really dig in and find a team that is going to take us to the next level. And gosh, I mean, I couldn't be happier. I mean, I really feel like we have this awesome energy going on. We're all pushing the company to be better and better every day. We're learning a lot. And things are really moving. We're excited about the opportunity that we're looking at. So
good. All right. Well, so in closing, is there anything else that you would love people to know about Proceed that we haven't touched on?
Gosh, know that we're a Wisconsin tech-based startup from Appleton, and know that we're also always just looking for introductions to small business owners. That's been a huge part of starting Proceed and developing it and growing it, is just having more conversations with small business owners and with people. And so if you know of anyone that you think we should talk to, just know that we're always looking, and we love talking with people. So, any introductions or anything people are willing to make, that's a big part of the stage that we're at in our company. So.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, hey, Andrew, thanks so much for your time. And it was great to learn a little bit more, the more I hear you tell your story about the company, and best of luck with Proceed.
Absolutely, Keith. Thank you very much, and happy to be on, and hope to see you soon down in Madison again.